value this year? Why are only citizens allowed to vote?
It's a reward. What the Federation gives you for doing federal service.
No. Something given has no value. Look, when you vote, you are exercising political authority. You're using force. And force, my friends, is violence. The supreme authority from which all other authority is derived.
My mother always said violence never solves anything.
Really? I wonder what the city fathers of Hiroshima would say about that. You.
They probably wouldn't say anything. Hiroshima was destroyed.
Correct. Naked force has resolved more issues throughout history than any other factor. The contrary opinion, that violence never solves anything, is wishful thinking at its worst. People who forget that always pay.
Okay, this is going to be a straight-up rallying cry, my friends, because I have emerged from the studio over the last couple of weeks and I've come out here in the world to try to bring reason, evidence, and arguments to essential cultural and political issues. And it is bad out here. It is brutal out here to try and get a message across in a peaceful, positive, engaging, and enjoyable way. The violence, the deplatforming, the hysteria, the verbal abuse, the slander, it is absolutely astonishing to see just how much opposition there is from the anti-rational left to anyone who wants to bring an argument against the falsehoods and the hysteria that they put forward. It is just astonishing. And I am, like every reasonable, decent, peaceful human being, I am trying with all of my might and all of my rhetoric and all of my energy and efforts to stop the war that is coming. This feral escalation of abuse and violence and threats and deplatforming is going to escalate into war. History is very clear on this point. And I don't know if the left knows how much it's going to escalate. I don't know if they want it. I don't know what the hell is going on. But I'm telling you, it's coming. Unless we keep free speech alive, unless we agree to stop using threats and violence, verbal abuse, hysteria, calling people far-right, Nazis, literally Hitlers, unless we can cool that rhetoric, we are going to end up with bayonets pointed at each other's hearts. And we
My name is Stephen, and this is just my opinion. Stefan gives a reasoned and heartfelt plea for reasoned debate to prevail so as to avoid war. But let's take a look at who the enemy really is. I came across this just today, apparently some march in Berkeley. That is not a communist flag that I recognize, but it does have the coloring and symbol layout of a communist flag. The individual right here in the black with the red scarf, well, we know who he is. Antifa. Here's an image of Antifa in 1932 Germany. Notice up here, it's the same flag that they use today and basically the same name. You see the communist symbols on either side. Apparently Antifa was the paramilitary wing of the Communist Party. Communism is basically what we were fighting all through the Cold War, JFK, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I remember being in the Army in the 70s in Germany. We were there basically to fight the Soviet Army or prevent them from invading into Western Europe. Communism is the same force that basically the German Army fought on the Eastern Front. Interestingly enough, I came across not too long ago a site where an individual professor was putting up the case that by 1943 Germany was fighting a lost war on the Eastern Front. Well, in my opinion, thank God that Germany didn't just throw in the towel and stop fighting. Because had they done so, in my opinion, the Red Army would have driven all the way across Europe to the beaches of the English Channel. And if and when the Normandy landing came, the Americans and British would meet the Red Army on the beaches of Normandy instead of the Germans. And perhaps the same thing had the assassination attempts of Hitler prevailed. The Red Army might well have taken the whole of Europe, and the dynamics of the Cold War would have been changed. The Soviet Union might well be in existence today and much more powerful than it ever was. So basically, in my opinion, this is the enemy. Communism, going all the way back to the 1920s in Germany, Russia. Now they just call themselves socialists, maybe Marxists, but it's all the same thing. International socialism, globalism is what communism was all about. Now these guys, the Marxists, they're in our public schools, they're in many of our government institutions. A lot of our local government offices or elected places or officials, but many of the people they hire are not elected. You know, they're deep state, local supporters. But the main thing are the universities and schools. Most of these, I don't know of any professors that are elected into their office by the people. They're just hired there by people who have the same value system. So why are we turning, as a country, turning the generations of children over to these Marxist communist professors to indoctrinate into anti-American students and people like we see here at the Berkeley Valley? I think it's just about time we have to go beyond mere reasoned debate and discussion. We actually have to become more militarized and at least wake up to what's going on. We are having subversion of our entire culture, both here in the US, Canada, and throughout Europe by Marxists. And I know it sounds fantastic. Maybe I sound like a McCarthyite from the 50s or 60s. But you know what? I heard that maybe McCarthy wasn't wrong. In fact, looking at it now, he was right. So I say that we have to maybe give war a chance. Right, Stephen out. This is just my opinion.